So my name's Connor Anders. I was at New College Worcester from year 10 to year 13 plus. So I didn't start at the beginning. I started when I was 14, and I came from a mainstream school environment. My visual impairment is Leber's congenital amaurosis. I was diagnosed at 6 weeks. It was 6 weeks. Yeah, I think it was 6 weeks. It was something. It was very early. Um, and it's a degenerative condition. So I started off with actually a fair amount of functional vision. I had tunnel vision, but it was pretty good, really. I could do. There was a lot of stuff I couldn't do, and there was a lot of stuff that I could do. So I was in this middle ground area, which a lot of people find themselves in. Um, and that stayed the same all the way through my years at New College Worcester. And at the age of 20, it started to deteriorate slowly. And by the age of 25, I had no vision whatsoever, so no light perception or anything like that. So after I left New College, the vision deteriorated to nothing, basically. To be honest with you, my experience in mainstream was pretty bad, which is the whole reason I ended up in New College in the first place, really. I practically didn't have an education until I was 14 years old when I went to New College. Um, it was all the usual stuff you've probably heard, work's not being adapted, um, could never get anything in large print, the computers were rubbish, magnification software didn't work, teachers weren't bothered, all the sort of basic stuff that is pretty common in this community. Um, and it basically left me in a position where in year 9 I was predicted to have unclassified in every single exam that I was going to take. They basically said you're not going to score anything in any exams. Um, so that was my experience in mainstream. That turned around pretty dramatically when I went to New College. So yeah, it was great. So my family were aware of New College Worcester, and this was when I was in primary school. I'm not sure how they found out. It was most likely through research. New College is a well-known school for blind and partially sighted people. Um, I didn't get in year 7. The local authority wouldn't fund it, which was devastating for my education. Um, but I went for an assessment, and I remember doing this assessment in year 5 or 6. And I do remember loving it. I thought it was great. Completely different environment. Um, Everyone is visually impaired. I'd never sort of had an environment like that before. So I was a bit sad that I couldn't get in year 7, but I managed to get in year 10, which was fantastic. When I first arrived at New College, um, I'll be honest with you, I was actually quite scared and a bit worried. Leaving home at a young age is difficult for anybody, and I knew that I was going somewhere where I was gonna basically be given a better shot in life, to be completely honest. Um, so I was really happy about that. But it is difficult being away from everything you've known, or your family and your friends and everybody. But very quickly, you make friends, you start doing things, you start hanging around, in the houses, you start doing your lessons, you start doing your work, and it becomes a home really quickly. So I would say anybody who's worried about that, you may only feel that way for a week at most, and then once you start participating in everything, you'll be fine. Starting in GCSE years was difficult. It was like starting from scratch. So I could read and everything, but basic mathematics was beyond me. I couldn't do basic things. Writing was beyond me. I couldn't write anything more complicated than a few sentences. So obviously, when you start in year 10, you're expected to be able to do a lot more than that, and I couldn't do that. Um, but luckily, I was able to progress quite quickly, and I got a lot of C's, a couple of D's, a lot of C's. So for me, those are average grades for the general population, but for me, that was a complete turnaround in the space of 2 years. So for me, that was like getting A stars. Sixth form, I studied Physical education, so PE, which is sort of my main interest to this day, really. Um, I did geography because I thought it was interesting. It was a great subject. I learned a lot in geography. I didn't get the best grades in any of these, but I learned a lot, and it helped balance out my education still. Um, I did politics, AS in my last year, and again, I was interested, and it really helped to further my like knowledge of things and my ability to work properly. And although I didn't get fantastic grades in A levels at all, I think sometimes the benefits go beyond just a simple grade, and the skills that I learned doing them were a lot more beneficial to me in the long run than necessarily the grades were. I did RNC for a year, and I got some out of it. I did a qualification, and then after that, I was basically given the opportunity to go train at the Olympic and Paralympic Training Centre in Walsall in Birmingham for judo. So I went to the National Training Centre for judo. I did a 2-year advanced apprenticeship in sport and excellence qualification. And at the same time, I was training with and competing with the Great Britain judo team. And then after I finished that qualification, I started a degree. My degree was in strength and conditioning. I started that in 2017. So strength and conditioning is basically just fitness, exercise, just very advanced. So in New College Worcester, everything is very accessible. You could forget that you were visually impaired to some degree in New College Worcester. But outside of New College Worcester, we all know that that's not the case, and things are usually quite inaccessible, and especially with people with deteriorating and low vision. So as my vision deteriorated, my degree became difficult. The university weren't really interested, very lazy. It was hard to get the most basic of basic reasonable adjustments. All the things I spoke about when I was in mainstream education were back, basically, bigger than ever because my vision was worse. So in the end, I had to change my degree. So I did 3/4 of my degree was strength and conditioning, and the last quarter was special needs, disability inclusion studies. And I changed that because of well, it wasn't my choice. It was because it was either that or don't finish the degree. And by the time I changed the degree, I had no vision at all. So it was like trying to adapt to that and trying to fight with the uni to get what I needed. So it turned into a great big thing. But in the end, I graduated with a first class degree in 2023. I had a year, just under a year's sort of leave to deal with everything. Got a first class degree in 2023 when I graduated, which was a shocker for me. I couldn't believe it. I was over the moon about that, as you can imagine, given everything that was going on. I officially left the GB Judo squad in January, February 2024, so last year. Since then, I've been doing more professional certifications related to fitness and exercise and nutrition. I've got quite a few of those now. I'm trying to look for work. I hadn't done judo before I came to New College, and within the first couple of months of me being there, I started going to the local club, and that was that really. I just kept doing it. And again, that's another thing that I probably never would have done if I stayed at home. So it's like, I suppose I don't want to be philosophical or anything, but there's certain points in your life which are like turning points. And I think going to New College was a turning point for my education. Without that, I wouldn't have gotten any grades and I wouldn't have done a degree. And it was a turning point for the rest of, my life as well. I never would have done judo, so that would have been that gone. So really going to New College has been the catalyst to let me do all of these things and progress. And it doesn't mean that you don't face difficulties. The world isn't very accessible, but what it does give you is a bit of confidence and a bit of a leg up sometimes, which is all that you need, and it gives you a lot more than you realize. It's not just grades and points and And classes, it's just about your mentality and your life experience. So Look UK are a organisation that does they do a lot of charity work, but what they're mainly known for is their mentoring programs. They've got several. They take young, usually blind and partially sighted people, and pair them up with a blind or partially sighted mentor with relevant experience or experience that they think will be helpful to that person. And it's a year-long partnership each time. It can be extended. Mine's been extended actually. But you're guiding that person through what might be difficult situations related to their sight loss and just related to life in general. One of the things that I always say to people is just because someone's got a vision problem, they don't only have that vision problem, they can experience all the difficulties in life as well as having to deal with that vision problem. So it's not one or the other. So people can get, things can get on top of people quite quickly. It's dealing with the education system is another one. It's quite difficult. I've got a lot of experience with that, so I can help people when they're having difficulties with that. So it's just about giving people, again, like we said with New College, it's about giving people the best chances possible, really.